Joining me now is Councilman Ronald C. Rice of Newark's West Ward.
Joining me right now is Newark Councilman Ronald C. Rice.
Joining me again, our Newark Councilman Ronald C. Rice.
Joining me now from D.C. is the Senior Director of Government Relations for the National Alliance, is Ron Rice.
What up, sports fans? Curious Formula here with a new video. What's up, sports fans? Curious Formula here with a new video, The New Republican. But first, subscribe to this channel at the link below and like and comment on this or the other videos that we have here, especially on YouTube. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It is a big number, but it is my number and I need your help to get there. So let's start. By now, we've all witnessed the civil war that is the fight over the speakership of the Republican majority in the House of Representatives. Speaker McCarthy was dethroned as Speaker by the radical far-right members of his caucus. Mike Johnson has been installed. But the failure of Representatives Scalise, Jordan, and Emmer to get enough votes to win it because the far-right members won't support the choices of the mainstream conservatives, and the mainstream conservative members will not support the choices of the far-right members, has led us to this crazy civil war. But who, pray tell, you may ask, are these far-right members? Why won't they compromise? Why would they rather bring the thunder and lightning than pass legislation? A better question is, who are these members? What are their characteristics? They are the New Republicans.
Let's get to the chopper! Let's get to the chopper!
Not a new Republican Party. They are a new breed of Republicans within the Republican Party and are a clean, clear break from the orthodoxy of the Reagan Republicans that has dominated the Republican Party since the 1980s. And it started with the infamous Tea Party. Yes, the Tea Party. There were people who were saying when the Tea Party first came out that this was a group of folks who were just concerned about economic anxiety. But I would tell you that it was also an embodiment of racial issues and racial problems and racial questions about where do white Americans fit in America and the world in the 21st century. The whole idea that whites are losing, to refer to the Chris Rock joke of the same moniker.
You watch the news like, we're losing everything. We're fucking losing. Affirmative action and illegal aliens, and we're fucking losing the country. Losing? Shut the fuck up. White people ain't losing shit. If y'all losing, who's winning? It ain't us.
Complaints about mixed race and interracial couples in commercials. Yeah, that's a real thing. Hip hop overtaking rock and roll as the #1 music genre in America. And people wanting to make sure that all of us knew that Santa Claus is white point to the fact that economic anxiety was not just the reason why the Tea Party took on a newfound sort of relevance and centrality in our politics after the election of Barack Obama as our first African-American president. It also looked at real issues and solutions through a different lens, and they created their own idea about what was true and what was not true. So the angst about economic anxiety existed and remained after the economy became the strongest in a lifetime. You'll remember that President Obama really took us out of the ditch of the 2007 economic collapse, the Great Recession, the lowest and most poor performing economy in the history of the world since the Great Depression. It was the policies pursued and enacted, passed, signed into law by President Obama that gave us 72 months of economic increase and growth, the longest unprecedented period of growth in the history of the United States. But yet and still, the Tea Party was still saying that America was failing and that Barack Obama was failing the economy. It is in this age that Donald Trump found his ascendancy from mogul and TV show personality to leading critic of the Obama administration, calling Obama not a citizen of these United States of America and challenging him to bring out his birth certificate. And after long pause of not doing so, when he did present it, saying it was not appropriate, it was a short form and therefore not adequate enough. It morphed into the America First, Make America Great Again philosophy that Donald Trump then took on as his cape and used it to roll and support his what we initially thought was an ill-fated run for the presidency, but turned out to be a successful nomination process and ascendancy into the office of president over Hillary Clinton, arguably the most qualified person to ever seek the presidency in the history of the country.
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Now, Donald Trump's support is predicated upon a fear of a black and brown planet. Check out my previous videos talking about that. The other issue we see with the new Republican Party is people like Candace Owens conflating actual black conservatism with the hollowed out social grievances of a white racialized and radicalized authoritarianism, beer hall putsch style, if you know anything about history. There's a speech she made where she actually talked about black folks needing to leave the Democratic Party, that the Democratic Party having ownership of the majority of black folks' votes was undemocratic and not in the best interest of African Americans. And she talks about, in the same breath, that Latinos and folks from South America and Mexicans coming over to this country should be voting en masse for the Republican Party and conservatism. That somehow is good.
One of my greatest dreams is that as the Democrats try to get a bunch of illegals over the border, I hope that they all go, surprise, we're voting Republican because we're actually conservative, and that would be amazing.
And I don't see how having one entire ethnic group in one party can be judged wrong or inadequate politically or undemocratic, but then in the same breath, support, advocate for another ethnic group to put all of their votes into one party and one set of ideas. Again, the thinking here is convoluted, the thinking here is confused, and the thinking here is based on ideology, not policy, not based on what's best for the electorate or the democracy that we find ourselves in, but again, for what's adequate to suit us now. The economic anxiety is not only a mask for racial prejudice, it is also to forward a rejection of American institutions that are not controlled politically or popularly by them. The proverbial taking my ball and going home is what these folks live by.
Okay, that does it. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
This is not traditional conservatism. It is anything but traditional conservatism, which is why the new Republican is running away from the party of Reagan. The Ronald Reagan revolution in the 1980s was about smaller government and making sure that there were strong military and private solutions over a government solution and tax cuts, not just for the wealthy, but for average citizens. It was also about education reform and immigration reform at a comprehensive level. Yes, Ronald Reagan and George Bush supported comprehensive immigration reform.
I'd like to see something done about the illegal alien problem that would be so sensitive and so understanding about labor needs and human needs that problem wouldn't come up.
I think the time has come that the United States and our neighbors, particularly our neighbor to the south, should have a better understanding and a better relationship than we've ever had.
The radical conservatives were people like Jack Kemp, who proposed real policies that use conservative ideas to end poverty, get home ownership and small businesses started, especially for those who were minorities, to really get them the promise of America to all. Remember enterprise zones and things like that. He did not call black folks lazy or describe Latinos as murderers or rapists, etc. No, he fought to make sure that those who had historically been denied the American prosperity and American promise were the first ones to get in line for it. We're going to be the beneficiaries at a wider and greater depth than even white Americans. Yes, he believed that Republican principles, based on the principles and not demagoguery, would be the way to lift all boats, especially those that have been stuck at the bottom for so long. So the fight now in Congress is between this new Republican conservative versus the traditional Reagan conservatives, and the war is tearing the party apart. So what are the characteristics of the new Republican? First, they have no core set of principles that they all share. They give lip service to the Reagan Republican doctrine, but there is very little with what they're pushing domestically and internationally with what Reagan actually fought for and pushed. It's predicated upon confrontation and controversy. It relies on alternative social media and news outlets, the supposedly alternative facts. It uses traditional GOP talking points as rhetoric only. It revels in cultural wars. And it makes sweeping, factually incorrect analysis about U.S. history. Hence the getting rid of CRT instead of embellishing and growing what U.S. history actually means to give a fuller view. It likes to hold on and hide and put forth a vision of America that have long been since disregarded by historians from all over the world. The New Republican invites all, and I do mean all, of disaffected Americans into their political tent. The unfortunate remark made by Hillary Clinton called them deplorables. And while I don't adhere to that, this new Republican does reach out to those members of society who have a grievance against government, against society, against man, woman, traditional roles, against all the things that have heretofore been not seen as politically correct. They now have a tent, and they now have an advocate in Donald Trump and those who are his acolytes to represent their matters, no matter the grievance and no matter how Looney Tunes it may be, from Jews in space using lasers to pizza parlors being owned by people who are engaging little kids and children in ways that we dare not speak on social media. The New Republican is message tight. Yes, there are New Republicans who even blamed President Joe Biden for the speaker mess that was happening in the legislature, although he has no public policy or power to do that.
Well, the chaos today is because of the weakness in the Biden administration.
How?
The southern
it's your
border.
Party. It's members of your party.
The southern
that
border
Kevin
is
McCarthy.
absolutely in chaos.
And lastly, they support Trump no matter what, whether he goes to jail, whether he's been charged with several counts of malfeasance, misfeasance, corruption, attempting to overthrow the government. No matter what, they stick tight. But let me know what you think. Leave a comment and let's talk. Don't forget to bless your buddy and subscribe to this page and my Instagram and TikTok pages. And like George Orwell said, in a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. We need more revolutionaries and more truth tellers. Stay curious.